Hello everyone, this is Łukasz Gondecki from Zolvio, and today I want to show you how you can add types to your AWS Lambda handlers. As you know, the AWS Lambda handlers can be invoked in many different ways. They can be invoked by SQS, SNS, DynamoDB streams. They can be invoked by API gateway. There's different versions of API gateway. And when you then add the context object and all the different ways that you can run a callback or return something from the handler, you soon discover that there is just so many different ways that your Lambda can fail in production. You can easily add some unit tests for the handler function, but if you have a wrong assumption of what's going to be in those arguments, then again it will fail. And debugging Lambda functions is not always so easy. So there's a way to do this. What I see, what most people do, is that they're either do not add the types at all here, even if they have the whole application in TypesCript. They would just leave it as that and have those just as any, which is obviously not optimal, but it's just the quickest. Other people do type those objects, but they either type it after looking at the documentation and figuring it basically out themselves, or they add types manually, just kind of guessing or based on their experience what should be there. But as I said, there's likely a much better way, and to do that we'll install a package called types AWS Lambda. You can just add them as dev dependencies because it will not be used runtime. And then what you do is in the AWS Lambda, you have all the different kind of events listed here, and in our case we are interested in API gateway, and the typical one that most people use, this is the newest one, is this API gateway Practi handler version 2, which is a mouthful. So the way to use it is you basically type it here. It should get import, actually, it should just get imported from here, and then import this as a type. This way you are sure that nothing will run in production. There's not going to be any side effects. This is only used for types. We have two types of errors here. One of them is just based on the lack of information. But that basically means we need to add a return type here. And then the other one is the fact that there's no query parameters actually on the event. So when you were looking at this code, I'm pretty sure it seemed correct, but the correct query, the correct thing that we want to get from the event is actually query string parameters. And now this passes, and we have those things typed as well. So even though we don't specify what parameters can be used to invoke this handler, it will know that those are strings, and basically any named parameter is correct or valid, and it will be a string, because you cannot basically, you can call the URL with any parameters you want. And since you cannot really limit it, then the event is correctly typed as any string parameter is correct and it is a string. So like even though you might be, calling something, some site, and then you can do a equals 4, that might seem like a number, but that's a string because everything here is a string. You couldn't there's no way basically to specify different types, so you always get the string. So this actually is very helpful. Obviously the fact that we know the exact keys on the event object is very helpful as well. And another advantage here now is that we could basically, instead of returning it like that, we could say, well, let's return an object with a sum. So we have a little nicer integration here, and then let's say just let's have a type of sum, and then this type here you could import somewhere, and then that means if you have a different place that calls this Lambda function, now you can have a typed integration between them, because you will basically be able to call this function and then say, I will get this object with a sum as a number in return. And yeah, just to finish off here, I wanted to show you how many different things you have here, and those files inside usually have like different kinds of types for this specific functionality. So it might still take you a while to find what you need, and you might make mistakes still, like you might use the wrong version of the proxy handler, for example. But once you start using it, you'll very quickly figure out what you need where, and it will save you a ton of time. And yeah, and I'm always focused on tooling and developer experience, and I do believe that having complex things like this typed is just much nicer to work with. Right, that will be it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.